Nearly 290 people died in a plane crash that occurred today in India after an aircraft bound for London crashed into a medical dormitory shortly after taking off from the airport in the western Indian city of Ahmedabad. More details about this plane crash are emerging now, and everything indicates that this was the first crash involving this Boeing. However, problems with this aircraft had been known for a long time, and many aviation technicians had warned that a tragedy could happen with this plane. Let's break down the whole situation in this episode, go over the truly shocking details of this plane crash, and review all the information that is known at this moment. My name is Alexei Pechi. Today is June 12th. Let's go through everything step by step. But before we start, I ask you to subscribe to this channel, like this episode, and leave your comment below. Also subscribe to my Telegram channel, Pechi News, link in the video description. There we publish breaking news as soon as it comes in. Subtitles created by me. So, today in India, a passenger plane of the company crashed right after takeoff. And in the photos from the scene, you can see thick black smoke rising into the sky after the plane crash. Part of the plane shown in these videos is simply lying on the roof of a building, which turned out to be a dormitory for medical workers. In other videos, you can see charred trees and buildings blackened by the fire. The city police commissioner initially reported that, according to available information, there were no survivors from the plane crash, which had 242 passengers and crew members on board. But later, fortunately, it became known that one passenger did survive. He is a citizen of the United Kingdom. He shared the details of the crash, stating that literally 30 seconds after takeoff, the plane stopped gaining altitude and crashed to the ground. A little later, the police commissioner reported that since the plane crashed in a residential area with offices, some local residents might also have died. And unfortunately, later it became known that many students from this medical dormitory were hospitalized, and later it turned out that almost 50 people unfortunately died. A high-ranking police officer reported that the plane crashed into the medical dormitory belonging to the medical college and hospital. According to the Federation of All Indian Medical Associations, between 50 and 60 medical students were hospitalized in local hospitals after the plane crashed into this dormitory. The statement says that 2 or 3 students are in intensive care. One person was confirmed dead and several others are missing. And when the debris was finally cleared, it turned out that there were actually many more casualties among the residents of this dormitory as well. The company stated in its announcement that out of the 242 people on board, 169 were citizens of India, 53 were citizens of the United Kingdom. There were also 7 citizens of Portugal and 1 citizen of Canada on board. Flight Air India 171 was headed to London's Gatwick Airport, where it was scheduled to land at 18:25 local time. A reception center was set up at the airport to provide information and support to the relatives of the victims. One of the videos captured the moment when the plane, gaining altitude after takeoff, suddenly began to descend in the air and then crashed, leaving behind a huge column of fire and smoke. According to the Director General of Civil Aviation of India, shortly after takeoff, the plane sent a distress signal to air traffic control. However, immediately after that, the plane did not respond to calls from the control tower. The plane crashed to the ground immediately after takeoff outside the airport perimeter. Thick black smoke was coming from the scene, according to a statement by the Director General of Civil Aviation of India. According to the statement by the Director General, the flight took off at 13:39 local time. The aircraft's signal was lost less than a minute after takeoff at an altitude of 625 feet. Then the plane began to descend at a vertical speed of 475 feet per minute. All flights from Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport in Ahmedabad were suspended after this incident. However, since then they have resumed with limited capacity. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that the plane crash has shocked and saddened the country. By the way, Ahmedabad is Narendra Modi's hometown, and that's why many media outlets are focusing on this right now. Modi described the incident as heartbreaking and beyond words, adding that he is in contact with the authorities involved in the crash. In addition, the chairman stated that Flight Air India 171 was involved in a tragic accident. We are doing everything possible to assist the emergency response teams at the scene and to provide all necessary support and care to those affected. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Keir Starmer, described the incident as devastating and said he would keep everyone updated on the situation as it develops. He added that his thoughts are with the passengers and their families during this deeply troubling time. Meanwhile, the United Kingdom Foreign Secretary David Lammy stated the following in the House of Commons: "This morning we learned that there were British citizens on board. And Mr. Speaker, I can confirm that the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office is urgently working with local authorities to support British citizens and their families and has set up a crisis group both in Delhi and in London." In addition, King Charles of the United Kingdom said that he and the Queen are desperately shocked by the terrible events in Ahmedabad. And he also paid tribute to the heroic efforts of the emergency services and to all those who are providing help and support during this most heartbreaking and traumatic time. Well, now let's actually move on to discussing the plane that crashed in India today. The plane crash in India was the first accident involving the 787 since this model entered the market in 2011. It's a relatively new aircraft if we look at it in a historical context. And according to experts, despite technical problems that forced airlines to temporarily ground the planes, there had not been any serious accidents involving them until now. It is known that currently about 30 of these aircraft are in operation, and this American-made long-haul plane has been used since 2012. The last disaster occurred in August 2020 with a smaller 737-800 which was landing at Calicut Airport in bad weather and went off the runway. Overall, the concept of the 787 model aircraft was announced back in 2003, but the official presentation of the first prototype was held on July 8, 2007. The first flight of the prototype took place in December 2009 in Washington, and it lasted about 3 hours. And already in August 2011, this aircraft received certification and gained access to commercial deliveries. The first delivery of the aircraft took place in September 2011 and as of mid-2025. More than 1,100 units of this model have been delivered worldwide, including more than 1,100 aircraft that are currently in operation. In other words, the total exceeds 1,100. The main operators are India, China, Qatar, American Airlines, Polish Airlines, Turkish Airlines, and so on and so on and so on. And the unique feature of the aircraft is that its unique composite material design allowed it to save up to 25% of fuel compared to previous aircraft of similar size. The cabin is wider with large panoramic windows, electric dimming, adjustable LED lighting, and moisture retention, which reduces passenger fatigue. Large overhead bins are installed, the cabin configuration is comfortable, there's an advanced turbulence control system, and noise is reduced by 60% thanks to aerodynamics and the engines. But behind this positive picture, unfortunately, there is bad news. The fact is, the company knew about the problems with this aircraft. As early as last year, an engineer warned about serious risks regarding the airworthiness of these aircraft. Moreover, the company was urged to take the 787 series aircraft out of service. Today, Segodnya writes about this and reports that despite the fact that airlines using these aircraft had many problems with the engines of the 787 model, its operational safety record has so far been good. However, as it became known, the United States safety regulator, the Federal Aviation Administration, has been forced to investigate several issues related to these aircraft over the years. According to reports, at a hearing in Washington last year, a whistleblower called for the grounding of all 787 aircraft worldwide. However, the company rejected the former engineer's statement and said it is fully confident in the aircraft of this series. It is known that more than 1,787 aircraft are in operation, and all of them seem to be performing well. Two major accidents caused by aircraft malfunctions occurred in recent years in Indonesia and Ethiopia, specifically in 2018 and 2019. But those involved the new 737 model, so it wasn't actually the first time it crashed. The 737 was taken out of service for almost a year after those accidents before it was relaunched and returned to widespread use. That's why experts are now suggesting that the same fate might await it, and it could be taken out of service until the investigation is fully completed. It's even known that last month he agreed to pay more than $1 billion in a settlement with the United States Department of Justice to avoid prosecution for the two disasters in which a total of 346 people died. And there's one more important point that deserves attention. If the number of casualties is confirmed, this disaster will become the deadliest in the world. Since 2014, when a Malaysia Airlines plane was shot down over eastern Ukraine, resulting in the deaths of all 298 people on board. This is the incident when the Russians shot down the Malaysia Airlines plane with a Buk missile. It was purchased by an Indian multinational conglomerate in 2022 and was widely regarded as a historic homecoming. Originally founded in 1932 and then nationalized in 1953. This deal marked the return to its original owners after nearly 70 years of state control. Before the purchase, it was considered a struggling, debt-ridden airline. In recent years, the airline has faced a few rare but well-publicized air disasters. Therefore, there are also questions for the airline itself. In 2020, at least 18 people died after the plane crashed in the southern state of Kerala after overshooting the runway. In 2018, another 737 plane from the same airline was damaged after hitting an airport wall during takeoff. In 2010, 158 people died as a result of a plane crash, once again after the aircraft overran the runway in southern India. And these incidents prompted the Indian authorities to improve safety and infrastructure, but problems remain, including overcrowded airspace. Since its acquisition in 2022, the airline has undergone significant changes and modernization, aiming to meet the demands of India's growing middle class. Therefore, now the investigation will focus both on the specific model and on the company itself, because there are also questions for them. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and condolences in the comments below this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like this episode. That's all for now. Take care. Goodbye, everyone.